Well, hello there, lovely fragrance lovers. It's Trina. Welcome back to my channel. So we're doing Chanel today, and I'm sure you've noticed, but in recent years, Chanel has started to travel a lot lighter with regard to her ventures in perfumery. In 2018, Olivier Polge released the start to a new collection, one that's finally got basically his own imprint on it from the get-go, called Les Eaux, the waters. We don't yet know how many fragrance journeys will be included in this collection, but after the first 3 scents were released at the same time, we have Paris-deauville here, we have Paris-venice, and Paris-Biarratz. About a year later, we got this one here, Paris-Riviera came out, and now there's one more called Edinburgh, and I'm going to talk about all 4 of these. I don't have Edinburgh yet. I'm dying to get my nose on it. So this video might end up being a little long, so I'll timestamp individual reviews in the box below. So if you want to skip to a particular fragrance review, you can go and do that. So these 4 I've purchased so far are all very lovely, but let me get this out of the way, okay? Although these are all supposed to be EDTs or eau de toilette concentrations, I think they smell and perform more like colognes. You'll need to spray a lot and spray often simply to be perceived or to perceive the fragrance after an hour or 2, because by that time all you'll be left with is some watery, deflated Chanel DNA on your person. So don't be fooled into thinking you're getting great value for money when splashing on about 120 US dollars for a large 125 milliliter bottle of one of these lovely refreshing scents. Now that's the main drawback to these, but if you know that going into it and you love them for what they are, these are all really nice. They all came out initially in these bigger bottles, but now we have these 50 ml bottles for a few of the fragrances. And as the line, if the line proves popular over time, I imagine more variation might be forthcoming. Who knows? Now, if you get all of these at bargain prices, as I did, then yes, perhaps they are full bottle worthy. Otherwise, there's indeed a lot of good competition on the market for these types of fragrances, I feel. So, taste test these, get a sample first and smell around, sniff around, and find out if these are really for you. But if they do end up to be the end all and be all for you after a sampling, or if you're one of those lucky souls that has moolah to burn, then buy them all. But performance is the biggest problem with these, and to get the most out of them, make sure your skin is moisturized and enjoy them in hot weather. Not only are they more suitable for hot weather in my opinion, but they might be more perceptible. Maybe. There are different opinions about that, but it'll likely smell different in cooler weather, in fact, for some of them. But I don't know yet because it's hot where I am. A good spray on hair and your clothes might help with performance too. Don't worry, most of my commentary moving forward is positive for now, and yeah, I got these at really good bargain prices, so I just blind bought all of them, not all at once, but as I saw the bargains appear in my Mercury searches. And it looks like I've used a lot of a few of them, but in fact, they had already been started when the person was selling them. So, but that said, I've dove right in and been using all of them. And it's humid and hot now where I live, so these are really quenching my need for lighter scents, and yeah. Now there's more to these fragrances than just the juices in the bottle, There's the Chanel name that you're buying into, of course, and these beautiful, weighty, gorgeous bottles. I think the new round edges of these illustrate the way in which this line of fragrances makes a really bold departure from earlier Chanel offerings. The look is softer, just like the juice within, and it's reminiscent of the Chanel cologne bottles from the 20s and 30s. Les Eaux de Chanel are lighter and more watery than other Chanel scents. But make no mistake, the backbone is still there, the Chanel backbone. And the fragrances I'm sharing with you today, those 4, are all fresh, and that's perhaps another quality that may define the line moving forward. I do know that the 5th fragrance, Edinburgh, has a fair share of vetiver in it, and I can imagine that it therefore might embody those characteristics. Do let me know in the comments below if you tried Edinburgh. Should I buy it? The inspiration for Les Eaux is an olfactory voyage to destinations deemed important to Mademoiselle Coco Chanel and are of historical significance to the brand. The idea with the collection is to take you on a journey without you having to leave home. And indeed, if a perfume can do that, and there are quite a few out there that can, then it gets a big thumbs up from me. It's said that fragrances are like bottled memories. But what if you don't have those memories to begin with? What if you've never been to a particular place or time that's supposed to evoke those memories? Well, with this line, Chanel also encourages you to enjoy les eaux as a way to experience sensations and locations that might be unknown to you. Well, if you're well-traveled, both in the literal and olfactory sense, you might be thinking, hey, there can't possibly be that much new under the sun. But I must admit, at least some of these are a little different and indeed very likable, and yes, I'm rather taken on a journey when I smell them. Perhaps another facet of the conception behind these fragrances is revealed through their names. They all start with Paris and end up with the other place name. And maybe this was intentional. It hints to a younger Coco Chanel's travels to these places, probably by, I don't know, car or train. I imagine her sitting by the window with the wind blowing past, and the scents from the countryside blowing in her face would be light and fleeting, just like the scents in this collection. There's a revitalizing simplicity or naivete to these fragrances as a result. Okay, so let's start with Paris-deauville because it was part of the original 3 in the launch, and it was also the first I procured. Deauville was where Coco opened her first store as a milliner in 1913, hoping to seduce the Parisians who visited the resort town on the weekends. And it's the green, tall grasses of the Normandy countryside that I believe is meant to influence how this fragrance smells. So let's put it on paper here. Gotta spray a lot. Okay, it's quite appropriate that the scent is very leafy and green and fresh. It's reminiscent and symbolic of new beginnings, and here are the notes. Paris-deauville is a bright, smile-inducing fragrance, and I think it might be my favorite of the 4. Hard to say. There's not too much that's particularly unique about it. It's rather familiar, in fact, but it's comfortable and pleasantly so. Oh, I love that sound. Really love the whole sensual, like tactile experience of these bottles. It's got a traditional cologne feel to it with the savory and ever so slightly bitter basil note that stays through the progression. And then there's a lime-forward citrus at the top. It's vibrant and it's frothy. It's like you put it through a Vitamix. It's soft and airy, but it also maintains a crisp and sparkly quality to it. Perhaps thanks to the green notes. This is really a refreshing fragrance. It mellows from a high-pitched citrus at the start. It's like a cologne genre, into something chypre-like or chypre-like by the jasmine and the heart notes. But although I feel the influence of the florals, I'd never think to define this remotely as close to a floral scent. It's a bright citrus fragrance. In my last video, I talked about Acqua di Parma's Colonia doing the same, similar type of thing, but this is a different fragrance, make no mistake. There's far more green going on here, and it ends nicely with patchouli. There's no oak moss. I think it's well blended, and you might see it as the fresher, softer, more ethereal cousin to Chanel Chance, or Chance. Yeah. Let's smell these side by side, actually. I think this will need a sprayer upper because it is so light. Okay, so this is Chance. I mean, this is so much happier and brighter. I like it way better than Chance. Yeah, and this bottle is kind of old, actually. I'm not sure how healthy the fragrance within the bottle is. But yeah, they are related. There's definitely a thread of DNA going on between them. Maybe a few other fragrances too. This also reminds me of a discontinued Lancôme Eau or Eau de Lancôme. This is a great fragrance, and funnily enough, I didn't like it much when it was in circulation, and now that it's off the market, of course, you know, you always want what you don't have. But this one is a bit sweeter, but I guess it's got that fresh vibe that sort of reminds me of it, and I think others on Fragrantica have said the same. Deauville is more refined, softer, and doesn't have the sweetness. And I think the original formulation of this has oak moss in it, and this one does not. And I don't get any soap from this, which is great. No musk. Overall, it's an easy to wear and highly elegant scent. No bathroom cleaner here, in my opinion. This is effortless Chanel. You'll never feel conspicuous wearing this sparkling, herbaceous, and citrusy delight. In the morning, it's better than coffee to wake you up and lift your spirits. And yeah, I think it is my favorite of the four. Paris-Venise was the second fragrance to find its way to my shelf. What's the significance of Venice? Well, Coco first discovered this Mediterranean city in 1920. She went there upon the advice of a good friend seeking much-needed comfort after the death of her longtime lover, Arthur Boy-Capel. In Venice, Coco Chanel found inspiration for her first jewelry collection. Venice conveys a richness and diversity of cultures, including influence from the Orient, so it's not surprising that this scent is not a herbal or marine or overly citrus freshy fragrance, but instead is a very interesting type of oriental fragrance. Probably due to the base notes, this is the longer lasting of the four initial fragrances, but it does stay close to the skin. According to Fragrantica, the notes are I think this is the best selling in the line of Les Eaux so far, and it's understandable why. I think there's a strong sisterhood between this and the shimmery Coco Chanel and all its flankers. This is the most traditionally feminine of the four I have. The star ingredient here is the vanilla, which is gorgeous, but it's not a thick, sweet, sticky vanilla, and there are plenty of other players at the party to prevent it from stealing the show. The vanilla is incredibly gentle, light, and plush, softened up by all the powdery, airy iris. So let's give this a spray. So light. Maybe the vanilla pods in here have fur. It's certainly soft and cozy enough. The citrus in the mix is really not powerful. It acts more like a transparent veil that blocks and balances out any remaining sweetness in the vanilla, and it acts to tame the tonka bean and thin out the benzoin at the base. The fresh geranium and dry cedar also help to control the sweet tendencies of the vanilla and florals. It's so well blended. To me, this suggests like a watered down Miss Dior blooming. Let me smell that in comparison. Okay, well, Miss Dior blooming it's just way stickier, way sweeter, way more young and naive. This is more sophisticated. It's so light though. This is like a classy, gentle second skin. It's very sensual and comforting, but not gourmand. But does it want to be? It's hard to tell, and that's what I find of interest with this fragrance. How can it be both so rich, so light, and ephemeral at the same time? It's luxuriously fresh, and it's oriental. Fresh oriental. What other fresh orientals can you name off the top of your head? Comment below. And I wonder if that juxtaposition of fresh and warm, and yes, this is a warm scent, I wonder if that wasn't intentional. Venice has a warm climate. It's a slowly dying, sinking city, rich with history and culture. Coco Chanel went there in grief over the death of a loved one. It's all a wee bit to take in. Okay, Paris-Biarratz. This is the third scent I purchased, and I should have read the small print more carefully before pressing the purchase button, because I ended up buying the small bottle. It still did not even amount to half of retail price, but I would have preferred to have paid much less for just what amounts to 25 milliliters. This one has the worst performance too, sadly. In Biarritz, you can take a dip into the Atlantic Ocean. It need not have all the hotels, golf courses, casinos, and beaches of Villa de l'Ariad, where Coco opened a boutique to cater to her rich patrons partying there in 1915, to get the gist of what this scent is all about. Any slow walk along any coastline, lined hopefully with citrus fruit, will do the trick. Slow, relaxed, and carefree is the attitude of this fragrance. Let me get it on the blotter again. 4 sprays. Apparently, Coco did a lot of relaxing and partying and swimming with her Russian friends in Biarritz. It's fresh. Here are the notes. Biarritz is my least favorite of the 4. Maybe not, actually. But it's got crap performance, okay? It's light and it's sporty, and it's too much of a classic cologne for my taste. Nothing blows my mind about it except one aspect, which is the marine note. It doesn't come out all the time, but it's there. I'm generally not attracted to aqueous notes, but that said, Olivier Polge has done a great job with this. If you smell this and imagine walking on the beach or just near the seaside on a warm and windy day, bang, you are there. It's quite compelling. I think there's even sea salt in it. The Lily of the Valley accord in the mid-note is very cooling and austere, and much of that brings to mind a dip in the ocean. But it doesn't do it for me. I only go into the water when I want a proper swim, which is usually in a pool. And if it's so hot that I need to go into the water to cool down, I'd rather step into air conditioning. I'm not a beach baby. The overall effect, however, when you spray enough to actually smell it, is pretty nice. It's not so much about the cooling off or the coastal vista. It's more about the idea of being next to the ocean. For a lot of people, this in itself is simply magical, but seriously, this doesn't last. Sunshine's not required, but standing or walking near or on some greenery would help with the effect. This is what the base notes bring to the composition, I think. My most recent purchase is the 4th in the line, which is Paris-Riviera. In 1928, Gabrielle Chanel, Coco, built her villa on the Côte d'Azur in the French Riviera, which was becoming the place to be with its beautiful coastal landscapes. Paris-Riviera is a sunny floral scent, and when I sniff it, which I will right now on paper, when I sniff it, I immediately am taken to a beautiful hotel balcony with breathtaking views of the ocean. I've just awoken from a peaceful sleep to be met with a lovely breakfast of croissant and a huge pitcher of freshly squeezed orange juice. I lick my lips, inhale the fresh breeze as I face the sun with closed eyes, and then sit down to savor the OJ and plan my day in Côte d'Azur. Here are the notes. Riviera has a soft, sweet, and tangy introduction that meshes with some nondescript flowers and woodsy notes. The zesty and candied orange nectar note I love so much at the start quickly turns floral, and then the fragrance can't decide if it wants the citrus notes to sort of stay or leave. The other scents in the collection do this as well, but in this fragrance, it comes across as a little too muddled and confusing. At first sniff, I thought this was going to be my favorite, but in terms of overall composition artistry, I'm afraid it loses out. It's pretty though, and it has that, after you get past the citrus, it has that shampooed, just out of the shower feel to it. It's bright, delicate, and a little fizzy. It also brings to mind a watered down orange creamsicle adorned with petals. Not that there's anything wrong with that. The whole composition just lacks a certain je ne sais quoi. Are there aldehydes in here, I wonder? I don't care for aldehydes. With Deauville, you get that bright green and citrus tinge. With Venise, you get an interesting contrast of warm and fresh. And with Biarritz, you have that surprisingly well-executed marine note. But with Riviera, well, it's just nice. Paris-Venice gives me an interesting new option for summer, but it's the heat-cutting citrus and the green, that basil note in Paris-deauville, that makes it my top choice. Too bad Biarritz has such low wattage, really. There's 25 milliliters left in this, and I can probably get through this in 2 or 3 days. Okay, fellow fragrance freaks, I will end it here and look forward to reading your comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I look forward to sharing more reviews with you in the future. Scent Gourmand, signing out. Mwah.